First, I'd like to introduce our group's chairman, Dr. Alan Speir, who will provide a welcome and an update from our board of directors. Dr. Speir.
Good evening, and let me also offer our welcome for our spring meeting. We're going to cover a lot of ground tonight, and so thank you for being along for the ride. From the board perspective, we had an update, and I wish we had more time to let Debbie mention the exciting work that's being done through the 2.0 grant, the SAN grant. We also have access now through LexisNexis to AccuRent is a organization where we can now access, they have over 60 billion public records, and we can now query them for follow-up for operative mortality. As you know, the Social Security Death Index went away about 6 years ago, and we were unable to track our patients for the long term for mortality, and we're now able to get access to that beginning immediately. And there's a couple of little questions we have to ask, but that's going to make a huge impact on our ability to follow up and the outcomes in both for all the cardiovascular procedures that we do. We also are looking at bringing in 2 other institutions and providing remote access and sort of getting into the 21st century. Some of this has been my fault, given my age, but it's, to be able to remotely access, have interaction for those, whether they're in North Carolina, in Greenville, and Dr. Kaiser drove up this afternoon from Greenville. It's no easy jaunt, but appreciate you taking the time to come. And for all of you that routinely are doing this, and we don't want to open the floodgates for not being together, but certainly as we're expanding the sphere of influence, it does allow us the opportunity to have more participation remotely. We also want to recognize our new board members, Drs. David Zane and Dr. Michael Contos, and our cardiologist that have joined the board, and also Chris Sidesma with our data quality managers joined representing them, and welcome to them. Tonight I just wanted to introduce our 2 speakers, and we have talked for the last year about the impact of the opioids on our individual practices, and I think for purposes of how this relates with us, particularly as we're seeing more scrutiny and more regulations around how we're prescribing, we're also seeing the heroin rates go back up dramatically, which plays a direct role in our endocarditis population that we have seen really explode. There seems like several peaks about 10 years ago, and it seemed to get better, and now we're seeing that occur again, and then all the ethics involved with that. So this is very timely in how it relates to us. Dr. Barbara Allison Bryan, she's a pediatrician from Gloucester, practiced for 30 years, was the past president of the Virginia Board of Medicine, and she's played a critical role in writing and passing the regulations on the opioid prescribing, and she's currently the chief deputy at the Virginia Department of Health Professions. Dr. Mark Huntoon, thank you, professor of anesthesia at VCU, director of pain management at the Orthopedic and Wellness Center, the VCU Neuroscience. He's also been instrumental in the creation of the opioid regulations, and he's going to offer some advice on pain management and prescribing practices. I think one of the charges and what we'd hope to come out of this is some directions for us is to, can we unify our prescribing practices around pain management? You wouldn't know this, but we've been instrumental in looking at, for example, in transfusion practices and adopting as best we can a consistent approach, and we saved $44 million in the lowering of complications related to transfusion. Atrial fibrillation, we reduced it from 27% to around 15% by adopting consistent practices. Early extubation, renal insufficiencies are several other things we've done. So we're hoping that with your leadership and direction, we can come up with a consensus as to how we can order differently, manage our patients differently.